we're going to kick off with Yassmin Abdel-Magied. Now then, this is a lot of fun.
One of my favourite Australians.
Absolutely. Now, you and I both may well be the people that are referred to in the clip that I'm about to play you. Now, Yassmin Abdel-Magied received the Voltaire Award on Saturday evening. The Voltaire Award named, this is the Free Speech Award given by Liberty Victoria. They're a left-wing mob who gave the award last year to Gillian Triggs. Gives us an indication of where they see free speech.
Magda Szubanski?
They're all there, they're all there. Well, Yassmin on Saturday night received the award, the Free Speech Award. It's called the Voltaire Award because, of course, Voltaire was rumoured to have said that I disagree profoundly with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it.
And this comes from the left, which
so this
fighting everywhere
absolutely
to try to shut down any Conservative who dares hold a public meeting.
Well, outsiders, I'm pleased to say, were there exclusively on Saturday night at the very swish event in Melbourne, $175 a night.
No police were required to keep away the protesters.
That's right. But let's just look at what happened on the evening. You'll be surprised. I was surprised as well. Some things not so surprised about. But let's kick off with Jessie Taylor from Liberty Victoria, the president. Now, she introduced the prize to Yassmin, and she mentions, Piers, as you will hear, all those people from Sky News and the Australian and presumably the Telegraph who were frothing at the mouth when it was announced earlier this year that Yassmin would be winning this award. So let's go briefly to Liberty Victoria president Jessie Taylor introducing Yassmin Abdel-Magied.
Liberty Victoria came in for an absolute roasting for awarding the Young Voltaire to Yassmin. The Australian and Sky News in particular were in a state of frothing conniption. But all of the trolling and hate mail that we received could not possibly compare to the avalanche of vitriol that's been directed to Yassmin.
Okay, so Piers, the scene was set, the stage was set, victimhood was, you know, the grievance, all this hatred of Yassmin Abdel-Magied and this fact that all she'd ever done was speak her mind. So let's just talk about that first before we go on to Yassmin's surprising speech. So the idea is that she receives the Free Speech Award because all she's ever done is speak her mind.
Correct.
But yet, just for speaking her mind, the Australian, other newspapers, Sky, myself, frothed at the mouth.
Well, I think they probably roared with laughter because essentially Liberty Victoria in itself, as I mentioned, you know, a left-wing group.
Yes.
And we know that the left in Australia is determined to shut down any Conservative who visits this country and holds a public meeting.
As we've seen in Melbourne last weekend.
We've seen in Melbourne last weekend. We've seen Bjorn Lomborg. We've seen
Milo Yiannopoulos, the list goes on.
Absolutely. So the notion that the left is any defender of free speech requires the Orwellian concept of doublethink, the inability to hold the exact opposite view to what you're espousing. So congratulations to Jessie Taylor and Liberty. Is it Liberty Australia or just
Liberty
Victoria? I thought so.
Yes,
because this is the sort of thing that comes out of the socialist state of Victoria with extraordinary rapidity. I'd hate to think that there's any state government or taxpayers funding involved, let alone federal funding.
Oh, of course there wouldn't be. Absolutely no way. What a ridiculous
concept. Not the Australia Council.
As if.
No.
Now let me just so this just quickly, without dwelling on it too much, just basically the idea that Yassmin was speaking her mind by quipping about lest we forget Nauru, Manus, etc. The odd, perhaps strange comment that Islam is the most feminist of religion and so on. I think what Miss Jessie Taylor struggles to understand is that certainly I was frothing at the mouth, and many others were, but not because of her ability to speak freely. I'm glad Yassmin Abdel-Magied can say whatever she wants, whenever she wants.
Absolutely.
But the problem was she was on the public purse and paid for by the Australian government to travel the world, on several jobs at the ABC, sponsored to speak on behalf of Australians. That's where the outrage came from. And on the Anzac Committee. That's why the outrage came, because of that. Correct?
Well, she is one of the most privileged young Australians in the nation.
Yes.
Without doubt. In
No
fact,
question.
I think that you'd be very hard-pressed to find another young Australian woman who has received so much notoriety whilst in the employ of the government.
Well, exactly. Okay, so let's now get to Yassmin. So we've established victimhood, which is what Jessie Taylor wanted to do. So what I wanted to see first, would Yassmin play into this kind of victimhood grievance story? She spoke, she went on a little bit about, I won't bore you with it, but how Australia was invaded and Australians don't appreciate that Australia was invaded, yada, yada, yada. But this was the bit that slightly stuck in my throat. Let's have a listen.
Recently, and I said, when I walk towards the departure gate and I hear the accent, you can hear it, I actually felt a little nauseous, which is devastating, because this is a place that I love, and I love this country, but it's a unique feeling when the place that you love decides, for whatever reason, to reject you.
Well, I don't think that Australia actually rejected you, Yassmin.
No.
I thought that you bought your own ticket to go to London because you rejected Australia. But this is yet another classic example of the doublethink which you entertain. And the notion that you love the country but you feel nauseous when you hear an Australian accent anywhere else in the world, I tell you what, I always turn around and say g'day. Where are you from, mate? And in fact, I was recently flying back from abroad on Qantas, and I was thinking, God, how pleasant it is to be surrounded by Aussies and hear those Australian accents. And I'm not a shill for the airline. I disagree with a lot of its policies, but I do enjoy the Australianness of it, the good-natured Aussie humour that apparently nauseates our Voltaire Award winner.
Well, this is where I did have a little bit of a problem with this, because here we had on the one hand her saying how nauseous she feels about the country, but she still loves it, and as you say, Pierce, that the country has rejected her. So anyway, I was thinking, okay, here we go, we're now going to delve into more victimhood and more grievances, but this was the big surprise. Now, I'm going to play you the next bit, and I was astonished that this young lady, she's only 27, she's had a very full and busy life, she's only 27, she has some insights that are worth listening to. Let's have a listen.
It is much easier to dehumanize those that we are trying to fight against. That is the easy way. To say that they are all of the things, racist and bigots and so on and so on. It is so much easier. It is so much more difficult to recognize their humanity, disagree with them anyway, and fight for change anyway, all the while seeing them as human. And I say this because I come from a nation where the oppressed became the oppressor. I was born in Sudan, where the people who are now in power were once the liberators, and many post-colonial nations have had this happen. We need to figure out what a model looks like, where we learn to share power, not simply take it so that we can do to others what has been done to us.
Now, a fantastic insight in there, Yassmin. I don't know if Yassmin's been reading Animal Farm by George Orwell. You mentioned George Orwell earlier, but she highlighted this idea of the oppressed people becoming oppressors. As she said, it happened in her country, Sudan, or her parents' country, and there we are seeing throughout the Western world the left, who claim to be oppressed, now putting their own oppression. You referred to the nonsense that went on around Lauren Southern and Stefan Molyneux. We have seen this constant desire from the left to oppress, to be the new oppressors. And I thought that was a brilliant insight. And I think I applaud Yassmin Abdel-Magied for that insight. And I applaud her also, really critically, for saying we shouldn't be calling our opponents by her opponents. I presume she means those who froth at the mouth when she says things that they disagree with. She says, don't call them racists, don't call them bigots, try and understand them. Absolutely, absolutely, Yassmin. And congratulations for highlighting where we are going wrong in the culture wars, this constant dehumanizing, aggression, violence, demeaning people, demeaning the person rather than tackling their argument. So congratulations on that insight. And I think this is the start, perhaps, of a more mature Yassmin Abdel-Magied, if that's not patronising.
Well, I wish I could be that optimistic.
Okay, but there is one thing wrong in her analysis. She's not powerless and she is not oppressed. And this is the problem. Piers, why do the left continually try and sell this idea that they are oppressed? As you just said, no one is oppressing Yassmin Abdel-Magied. She's one of the least oppressed, most powerful people in this country. Where's this idea of oppression come from?
Well, because they're whiners, essentially. But I have to take issue with you on a couple of points here, Rowan.
Good, please do.
You know, one is that this is mouth music, and it's welcome, you know, it's welcome. But I will feel far more comfortable and almost embrace Miss Magied when she acknowledges that the culture she apparently despises, although now she's going to open the window a little bit, was basically laid out by those colonialists, those liberators, of the dark continent,
yes,
whom she loathes, those oppressors, those colonial oppressors, who gave this country and other colonial countries systems of law. Mm-hmm. They gave them the very Voltairean principles, yes, which led to this award.
Yes, that's
so. Yassmin, you're welcome to appear on this show and thank those old white men who sat down in Paris and Rome and in Athens and, dare I say, in Philadelphia, working out the Bill of Rights, and in London, working out those early British constitutions and Magna Cartas that have given the world the Enlightenment. And now you look at the oppressed nations where the left still dominates. We look to Russia. We look to where the oligarchs are just another form of the old Politburo. There's no doubt about that. We look to North Korea and the other struggling nations around the world. Those are the nations that you should go and liberate, Yassmin, with your new found fervour.
I would suggest there's plenty of Muslim nations in that mix that where the oppression is certainly not coming from
certainly
white
not
colonialists.
On women, not towards women, though.
Anyway, so we shall see. Is there a new mature Yassmin Abdel-Magied on the horizon, or was that just mouth music, as Piers said? Anyway, Yassmin, you may come on this show anytime you like. We'd love to find out.